You are 64. You stand up from the toilet this morning, and what you see in the bowl is something most American doctors will never ask you about. But the old healers in my mountain villages have read this same bowl for 2000 years, and what it can tell you about your kidneys, your blood sugar, and how many good mornings you have left would frighten the doctor who saw you last week. 5 signs. One of them appears in 9 out of 10 people over 60, and almost no one notices it. By the time your fasting glucose number rises on a blood test, the bowl has been speaking for 5 to 7 years. By the time your kidney filtration rate drops, the kidneys have already lost half their working tissue. The bowl was the early warning the entire time, and there is one inflammatory pathway hiding in your gut right now that ties the kidneys and the pancreas together in a single knot. I will show it to you in less than 2 minutes because once you see it, the rest of this video will save your life. Hello my friend, my name is Jian Chen. For over 50 years I have practiced the old ways of healing, beginning at the age of 14 under my grandfather in the mountains of Sichuan Province, where I still live and work today. People come to my village from many countries now. They bring with them the worry that the body is failing them, and most of the time the body has been calling out to them for years through the bowl, and no one taught them to listen. Here is the knot I want you to understand right now, before we go any further. The gut wall has a thin mucus layer that is its first defense, the way the bark of a tree protects the living wood underneath. When that wall is irritated for years by processed foods, by medications, by chronic stress, by the loss of beneficial bacteria after 60, it sends out inflammatory signals called cytokines. Those signals travel in the blood to 2 places that are unusually sensitive to them. The first is the small filtering units of the kidney. The second is the insulin-producing cells of the pancreas. The cytokines damage both, slowly, year after year. This is why a single fire in the gut can dim 2 organs at once. The bowl shows you every morning whether the fire is still burning. That is the master mechanism. Now we can begin. Researchers in the West are now showing what the old texts already knew. The gut shapes the immune system, the inflammation in the blood, the balance of hormones, even the quality of sleep at night. But here is the part the old healers understood that the laboratories are still catching up to. After the age of 60, the population of beneficial gut bacteria in your body can drop by up to 70%. The garden grows weeds, my grandfather would say, when the gardener stops tending. And no one tells you this when you turn 60. No one tells you that the soil itself is changing under your feet. Stay with me. In the next 10 minutes, I will show you the morning color the old healers learned to fear after 60. I will show you the floating sign that points not to fat, but to a kidney quietly leaving its post. I will show you the smell that means the gut is no longer breaking down protein. I will show you the texture change my grandfather called the river running too thin. And I will show you the master sign, the one that appears on top of every other sign on this list. Number 1 will surprise you. Most of you watching this video have seen it and dismissed it. Number 5, the pale bowl. The color of clay or putty or the inside of an old potato. When the stool has lost its rich brown and turned pale, gray, or chalky, something upstream has changed. The brown color of healthy stool comes from bile, the dark river the liver paints onto the stool on its way out. When the river runs thin, or when the duct is partly closed, the paint does not arrive. The stool comes out the color of the unpainted clay underneath. But here is the reality after 60. The bile flow slows. About 1 in 3 adults over 65 has some degree of bile reduction. When bile thins, fat is not broken down well, and fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin D and vitamin K stop being absorbed. Vitamin D is the same vitamin your kidneys depend on to regulate calcium and blood pressure. Researchers in Germany followed 900 adults over the age of 60 for 4 years, and those with chronic pale stools had nearly twice the rate of declining kidney function. The old healers did not need this study. They watched the bowl, they watched the legs swell, and they knew the river had stopped flowing. Eleanor, 71, a retired piano teacher from Burlington, Vermont, came to me through a niece who had visited the village. Her stools had been pale for almost 2 years. We worked on warming her bioflow with bitter greens before each meal, a small cup of warm water with lemon and ginger on rising, and a daily walk before her morning rice. By 12 weeks, her stools had begun to brown again. But here is what I want you to hear carefully. Eleanor's morning ankle swelling improved by perhaps 70%. Not all of it. There was a stubborn final piece that the herbs and the walking would not lift, and we will return to her in a moment, because what finally cleared that last piece is the part of this story I most want to share with you. Therefore, the simple practice for now, each morning, before you eat anything, sip a small cup of warm water with 2 slices of fresh ginger and a squeeze of lemon. Pair it with a small handful of bitter greens, dandelion or arugula, with your largest meal of the day. Bitter on the tongue, bile in the duct. That is what my grandfather would say. Number 4. The floater that will not sink. I do not mean the occasional floater after a high-fiber meal. I mean the stool that floats again and again, week after week, often pale or yellow, often with an oily film on the water. This is fat malabsorption, and in older bodies, it points in 2 directions at once. It points to the pancreas and it points to the kidney. The pancreas releases the enzymes that break down fat. When the pancreas grows tired, often in the early years of insulin trouble, those enzymes drop. The fat passes through undigested and floats. But here is where the kidney enters the story. When fat is not absorbed, the gut binds calcium to the loose fat instead of to oxalate. The unbound oxalate then travels to the kidneys and forms crystals. Over years, those crystals scar the small filtering units called nephrons. By the time a doctor sees the kidney number rise, half the nephrons may already be gone. Researchers came to a village near mine 20 years ago, and they followed 1,200 adults over a decade. Adults over 60 with chronic floating stools had a 43% higher risk of developing both prediabetes and reduced kidney function within 7 years. My teacher would have nodded slowly and said, "Yes, the bowl told us this in the time of his grandfather. Therefore, slow your eating. Chew each mouthful until it is almost liquid. The pancreas releases its enzymes in response to chewing, not in response to swallowing. Add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a small glass of water with your largest meal, sipped slowly across the meal. The acid helps the pancreas wake on time." Number 3. The smell that turned. Sharp and chemical. Almost ammonia. Almost rotting meat. When the bathroom smell makes your eyes water, the body is telling you something specific. The gut microbes that handle protein have gone out of balance, and undigested protein is putrefying in your colon. The bacteria that thrive on rotting protein produce ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and a class of compounds called uremic toxins. These same uremic toxins are exactly what failing kidneys are supposed to filter out of the blood. When the gut produces them in large amounts, the kidneys must work overtime, year after year, to keep up. Eventually, the kidneys grow tired. But this is where I must stop and tell you the truth that took me 30 years to find. Many of the folks who come to me from across the world ask me the same question. "Master Chen, you teach us the herbs and the warm water and the chewing, but what do you take yourself in your own old age?" So let me tell you what I searched for and what I finally found. In my 40s, I believed the herbs of my grandfather were enough. They were not after 60, when the gut bacteria collapse. In my 50s, I tried the Western probiotic capsules, the ones the laboratories were beginning to sell. They helped a little, but they did not hold. It took me many more years to understand why, and the answer is what I now teach to every patient who is over 60. The soil of the gut needs 3 things, and most people only know about one. Most people know about probiotics, the living seeds, But seeds without water do not grow. The seeds need prebiotic fiber to feed them, and the bacteria, once fed, produce postbiotics, which are the actual healing compounds the body uses to calm inflammation and repair the gut wall. Seeds, water, and harvest, all three must be present, or the garden does not grow. Probiotics alone, the kind sold in most pharmacies, are seeds thrown on dry ground. For 7 years, I searched for a single formulation that contained all three, and that an older body could actually take. I tested powders that were too harsh on the stomach, capsules my older patients could not swallow, liquids that lost their potency in the bottle. What I finally found, and what I now keep on my own kitchen shelf, is a kombucha gummy called BoochBod. It carries the probiotic strains called lactospore, the prebiotic fiber that feeds them, and the postbiotic called postbiotics LM1004, which is the harvest. It also carries dandelion root and slippery elm, the same two plants my grandfather kept in jars on a high shelf in our village kitchen for 40 years. It is a gummy, not a pill, which matters more than you might think, because the older folks I work with tell me they are tired of the morning lineup of capsules, tired of swallowing one more thing. A gummy feels like a small kindness in the morning, not another medical chore. Now this is the part one most want you to hear. Eleanor, the piano teacher with the pale stools, the one whose ankle swelling cleared by 70%, the stubborn final piece, the morning heaviness she could not shake, lifted only after we added BoochBod to her morning practice. Within 6 weeks, the heaviness was gone. She wrote to me, Master Chen, I have my mornings back. The herbs took me most of the way. The gummies took me the rest. This is true of nearly every case I will share with you today. After 60, the soil itself has thinned, and the body cannot rebuild it from food alone. The link is the first one in the description below. The makers offer a full 60-day guarantee, which means you can try it for 2 months. And if your bowl has not changed, if your mornings do not feel lighter, you send it back. I am asking you to do for yourself what I did for myself after 7 years of searching. Click the first link below, and please speak to your doctor before starting it, especially if you take medications for the kidneys or for blood sugar. Now back to the readings. Number 2. The river running too thin. Stool that comes out loose, narrow, ribbon-like, or watery again and again. Not the occasional loose morning, the pattern. My grandfather, when I was a boy of perhaps 16, watching him examine a neighbor in our courtyard, called this the river running too thin. He said, when the river will not hold its banks, the soil of the body is washing away. The mechanism is simple. Inflammation in the gut wall damages the tight junctions between cells, the small locks that hold the wall together. When the locks loosen, water leaks out and the bacterial fragments leak in. Those fragments travel in the blood to the kidneys and the pancreas, where they irritate the delicate tissues. The bowl shows the leak first. Robert, 68, a retired carpenter from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, came to me with chronic loose stools that had lasted nearly 3 years. His fasting blood sugar had crept from 100 to 118 during that same time. We worked on calming the gut wall with simmered rice congee in the mornings, slippery elm tea before bed, and the removal of cold raw foods. By 16 weeks, his stools had firmed and his fasting glucose had dropped to 110. But the last 8 points of glucose and the afternoon fatigue that came with them did not move. We added BoochBod in the morning. By 20 weeks, his glucose was 102. He told me, in a voice I will not forget, I can carry the groceries up the porch again without resting on the second step. Therefore, for 1 week, replace your breakfast with a bowl of slow-cooked rice congee made with a little ginger and a few slices of carrot. In the evening, sip a small cup of slippery elm tea before bed. Number 1. The master sign. And now we arrive at the most important reading of all. Mucus on the stool. Clear, jelly-like or pale yellow strands, coating the surface or trailing behind. Many older folks see this and feel embarrassed, and so they say nothing. Please do not stay quiet about it. This single sign tells you that the gut wall is producing extra mucus to defend itself against chronic inflammation, and that the same inflammatory pathway, the cytokine knot I showed you at the beginning, is now active in the kidneys and the pancreas at the same time. Researchers at a university hospital in Tokyo followed 2,000 adults over the age of 60 for 9 years. Adults with regular visible mucus had a 58% higher rate of developing both reduced kidney function and impaired fasting glucose. 58%. The second study from the Netherlands found that gut wall inflammation predicted kidney decline 2 full years before the standard kidney blood test caught it. 2 years of mornings, the bowl was speaking, and the laboratory had not learned the language. Mary, 74, a retired school teacher from Savannah, Georgia. Her bowl had shown mucus for nearly 5 years. Her doctor had told her it was nothing. Her fasting glucose was 124 on the edge. Her kidney filtration rate had begun to slow. We worked together for 3 months on the warm congee, the slippery elm, the bitter greens, the evening walk. Her mucus reduced. Her glucose dropped to 115. Her energy returned partway, but the mucus did not fully clear, and her glucose stalled. We added BoochBod in the 4th month. By 6 months, her mucus was gone. Her fasting glucose was 107, and her kidney filtration had improved by nearly 20%. She wrote to me on rice paper in a careful hand, Master Chen, I have been given back a decade. I sleep through the night. I am here again. If this video has helped you so far, take 2 seconds and tap subscribe. Many of the folks who write to me each week tell me they thought they had subscribed years ago and they had not. It costs you nothing, and it helps me reach more older folks walking through this same season. 3 principles I have learned from 50 years of watching what works in older bodies. First, the morning reading is more honest than the afternoon reading. Make it a quiet practice. Second, warmth is the friend of the older gut. Cooked vegetables, warm soups, room temperature water. The body after 60 is a banked fire, and a banked fire needs gentle fuel. Third, consistency outweighs intensity. A small warm cup of ginger water every single morning will heal the gut more deeply than a week of dramatic cleansing followed by a return to old habits. Dear friend, listen to me now. The body is the legs that carry you down the porch steps each morning to check on the tomatoes. It is the arms that lift the youngest grandchild for one more hug. It is never too late. I have watched men begin this practice at 78 and walk their granddaughter down the aisle at her wedding. I have watched women begin at 82 and live to teach a great-grandchild how to roll dumplings. You have one ask from me today, and only one. Click the first link in the description, the one that says BoochBod, and try it for 60 days. If your mornings do not feel lighter, if the bowl has not begun to clear, send it back. Every month past 60 that the soil of your gut grows thinner is a month you cannot get back. The herbs and the warm water will take you most of the way home. The seeds, the water, and the harvest, all 3 together, take you the rest of it. That is what I have learned in 50 years, and I am giving it to you now. Walk gently, my friend. The body is speaking. May your mornings be warm and your soil deep.